Hi, Dave DePino here. I wanted to talk to you today about my Paramotors, take a walk around one of the motors, and also show you the trailer that I've been putting together so that I can go out to remote locations and be there in order to fly early in the morning or right before sunset in the evening. So I'm going to take you around and show you the trailer first. I bought myself a 7 by 16 cargo trailer, and I picked it up over in Atlanta, and I wanted it to be a stealth thing in order to park somewhere and not be bothered so it doesn't look like an RV. And so by getting a cargo trailer and outfitting it with air conditioning and heat and such, that's what I have. So I cut a hole in the front here and I put the air conditioner inside, and it rolls out on rails when I need it. Otherwise it's not there and no one would know that it has air conditioning. All right, I went ahead and I got some cheap carpet squares and put them on the walls, and then I got my anchor points and I put them throughout the cargo trailer here, as you can see. Now down here is a queen size bed that I can put a foam mattress on that I've got inside the house, and I can put it down here where it's easy to sit on when I've got the equipment out of here, and when the equipment's in here and I need the space on the floor, I can raise it up here. So when I'm on the trail, so to speak, if we need to stop in the evenings for after we've driven till 11 o'clock at night and we're not ready to get a motel, or we're not in a place where we can get one, we can just come back and jump in here and hop on the bed, throw in the air conditioner or turn on the heat, and we're all good for an evening until we get up early in the morning the next day. Put down some vinyl siding here that I got from Prattville Carpet. Thanks, Ray. Okay, so I mentioned that it's all insulated inside. Obviously that's important, but it also has heat and it has air conditioning. All right, come on around the back. Okay, so I've got a ramp on it for a couple reasons. Obviously it's easier to get the Paramotor in, but I have a four-wheeler that I'm able to put in here. I've arranged the space so I can get both Paramotors in as well as the four-wheeler. Now we've got family up in West Virginia, and so when we go up there, if I'm paramotoring and I have to land on a hillside, we can take the four-wheeler, drive up the hill, and pick up the Paramotor and come on back. So come on around here a little bit. In order to make them on stools for a couple of reasons. One, I wanted them to be up off the ground so I could use the space around it, but also I wanted it to be high so that I could easily get inside of the straps. When it's all the way on the ground, it's a lot harder. All right, so this is the Scout Carbon that I've flown before and talked about. It has a carbon fiber frame, and it has a Moster 185 or 185 cc two-stroke engine. Very reliable. It's made by a company called Viterazzi. I'm going to take you around and show you my mini plane Paramotor. So this is my mini plane Paramotor. Now, Paramotor has 3 basic parts, and for paramotoring there are 4 parts: the wing and the 3 parts of the Paramotor. The Paramotor has the harness, the frame, and the engine. So let's take a look at the harness. The harness is made with heavy webbing so that you can haul this around. This one here with fuel in it is over 50 pounds, and that one with fuel, the larger one, is over 60 pounds. So this is going to help you hold the Paramotor up on your back while you're supporting it on the ground. And it straps you in, holds you in by both legs, a little bit like a repeller would be strapped into his harness. Okay, so the harness is very basic. Now they come in different types. They come very plush, very soft, very nice, and with a lot of features, and they come very bare bones with very few features. And the mini plane Top 80, it's a bare bones harness. This particular maker, the mini plane, is the oldest production paramotor in the country. To buy one of these new right now is about $5,500, $6,000, and other paramotors are a little bit more, generally speaking. All right, so the harness is very plain. Like I say, if you want to have a let's say a reserve parachute on this, you wouldn't have a place in the harness like on many harnesses to put it in a zipped area. You'd have to actually hook it in the front and carry it on the front on this particular model. Okay, so the harness has a area on the bottom, which is a pouch that allows you to put maybe the pouch that holds your wing before you go somewhere. If I wanted to fly a long way off and I knew I was going to be landing somewhere other than where I took off, and I wanted to pack that wing up to move around, I could put that pouch down in here, and when I landed, I could put the wing inside there. All right. All right, so the harness, like I say, is very basic. It's got a hard seat in it. Some of them are wood, and when the folks do the acrobatics, there's so many G-forces, they've broken that wood in there. I think this one here is actually like a hard plastic. All right, so let's move on to the frame. The frame is made up of the hoop, which protects you from the propeller, but it also has these arms on it. Now these arms, if you can see them as you look at them, they're leaning this way. And the reason they're leaning is to provide weight shift. So this weight shift feature allows the wing to fly straight. You simply shift your weight. It's already pre-staged some of that shift. Shift your weight to go left, to go right. You don't have to keep your hands up to control the wing all the time. All right, so we've looked at the harness, we've looked at the hoop, we've looked at the arms. Let's go around and take a look at the back. So as I was saying, three parts: the harness, the frame, and the engine. Now the frame is usually the brand name. So this is a mini plane frame. And then this engine is a top 80, so it's the mini plane top 80. The frame is also the mount for the engine, and it's mounted with these rubber spacers. That helps control vibration so it's not transferred to the pilot, which you don't want to be feeling all that heavy vibration, but it also allows the engine to move and not crack. So this particular engine is 80 cc's, and it's a two-stroke. So I suppose you could say a two-stroke engine, whatever number it is, if you double it, that's a typical four-stroke. This one is 80 cc's, which makes it equivalent to a small dirt bike at 160 cc's. But it gives you a lot of power for weight, and that's important when you're flying. You got to keep your weight down, which is why they go with two strokes. All right, so this hoop is designed to keep people away from the propeller. Now the propeller is going to be different sizes. The regular size, the standard size, is about 125 centimeters, but this one here is 140. You get a great deal more thrust with just a little bit larger propeller. Now the Scout inside the trailer has a propeller that's at about 133 centimeters, 135 centimeters. This is 140, and as I said, a typical paramotor is going to have 125. So these are both attempts to increase the power of the paramotor without changing the engine, and they did a pretty good job at it. Now, I did mention that there's a lot of vibration, and so the exhaust system on any paramotor is kind of a weak spot, and so what they do to compensate for that is they put these springs and added joints on the exhaust, so there's movement can take place without it actually cracking with all that vibration that's going on. All right, now it's a flying machine. So if you're working on any aircraft, you would have safety wire which would tie in every bolt into place. So if it were to ever try to come loose, that safety wire would hold it into place. But Paramotor is an inexpensive two-stroke engine. So what do? We use a red Loctite to hold the bolts in place, or blue when it calls for it, and then we mark it a marking paint. Take a look. Come on in close. Okay, so we mark it with a marking paint. So you can see right here that bolt is marked up with a mark on the bolt and a mark on the screw. So if those ever become unaligned, I know that I've had loosening going on. This is the gear reduction box, which allows me to run the larger propeller. And this would, this same engine also runs Paramotors with 125 centimeter propellers, but when you get a specific gearbox for a larger one, it does that. So when it comes to the frame, there are a lot of different approaches. This one is an aluminum frame. An aluminum frame is great because it's inexpensive and because it's light. But aluminum isn't necessarily all that strong. And so some people have decided to go with titanium frames. Now titanium's good. Titanium can bend and be bent back into place, whereas if you bend aluminum and you try to bend it in, it'll most likely break. So these are the different ideas that people are running with. And truth is, aluminum is still lighter than titanium. And if you do break it, it's going to be cheaper to fix. But titanium, if you think you might break it or bend it and you want to bend it back into place and you want something that'll last a long time, it's not subject to breaking as much, then you can go with titanium. But let's go take a look at the Scout real quick and see what it's made of. Come on. Okay, with the Scout, their frame has some aluminum on it, but most of it, as you can see back here, is carbon fiber. And what they've done is they've used something called a dynamic torque compensation system. So each of these fins that look like propellers in a way, coming out and holding the hoop, those fins provide an offset to the torque of the engine. As the engine's torquing it one way, the fins are pushing it the other way as it moves through the air. So out here, the hoop is made with carbon fiber as well, and it's very light. So this provides a unique and efficient design as it flows through the air as opposed to a round tube. But it's also going to be very expensive if I crash it or if it breaks for some reason. There's a lot of money in a carbon fiber piece. It's not plastic to look like carbon fiber. It really is carbon fiber, so it's very light. And here's an example of a harness that's more expensive. It has more features. So we've taken a look around a paramotor engine. There are three parts, remember? The frame, the engine, and the harness. Now you can change out the harness if you like after you buy one. You can say, I'm not happy, I'm not comfortable in my harness, I can get another one. You can change out the engine. Some of them are made to take the smaller engine and then easily be fitted with a larger engine. But your frame is going to be your name brand. So this is a mini plane, that's a Scout Carbon. Now the idea with a paramotor is that under the FAR 103 is you can fly a paramotor without a license and without safety inspections on your engine because you're the only person flying it. You're not allowed to fly around with anyone else. You can be certified as an instructor to fly around with one other person to let them experience it, but that brings on certain insurance requirements and so forth. So when you fly, for the first time, you fly alone. There's nobody up there with you, but you usually have somebody in your ear on a radio. So most people land with the engine off, and they do that for safety reasons. The propeller's not spinning. They couldn't accidentally mash the throttle and cause the propeller to run really fast and create a problem. And it sets you up to be able to land with the engine off every time. If you lose your engine, you're up at 1,000 feet, you lose your engine, you look around for a field, and you just begin to float down to that location. You don't need your engine. You're going to have a glide path right to that field, so long as you always fly somewhere where you have a landing zone within gliding distance, and you're safe. So if the engine ever goes out, being an inexpensive two-stroke engine, that's not that big a deal if you apply the safety factors that you need. Sometimes I'll try to fly high enough so I can always fly or glide into a location where I can land just like I would where I'm taking off and setting down when everything's fine. All right, so that's the best I can do today for the paramotoring education and adventure. And if you're interested, talk to me because I can suggest some instructors that I'm very confident in, and you can be in the air too. God bless. Have a great day.